What's going on, everybody? So today I'm gonna show you guys how I go about fertilizing my watermelons. All right, now giving you the video on my experience on being a first-time watermelon grower in one of my first videos. Followed that up with a video to show you how I prep my actual soil for watermelon, and now I'm going to show you how I go about fertilizing my watermelon. All right, so this is exactly what I did last year. Now last year what I did was I kind of pre-filled in the areas a little bit of fertilizer to kind of get going, and then right before the melon started to flower, I gave it some more fertilizer and it pretty much was good to go. So same concept, I'm going to be doing the same thing. And basically, as you can see, this melon here, it's to the point where it's going to start to fall and it's going to start flowering. All right, so what I'm going to do is kind of bring some of that soil back. All right, just a little bit. And you don't have to pull a soil back if you don't want to. All right, and so this is what I used last year, and this is what I'm gonna use again. All right, so this is an organic chicken manure, and you can get this from Tractor Supply. You can also get it from Home Depot, I want to say, and then I think I've also seen them at Lowe's sometime as well. All right, so I'm gonna take a cup, get a nice little scoop. All right, the wind will stop blowing. All right, and you don't need that much, so all I'm gonna do is kind of pre-fill around the edges here. All right, and then you can take that gravel and kind of backfill. And then what I like to do is follow that up with some mulch. All right, mulch it up real good. That way you can retain the moisture as you water. All right, and right now it's about 90 degrees Fahrenheit outside, and once it gets this warm, I make sure I try to water them a little bit every day. That way they won't go into a drought. But with the mulch, let's say I go out of town for a few days, it'll retain more moisture, and I won't be worried when I'm gone. All right, and so after I've got my mulch in there, just kind of fill it with a little bit of water. All right, I'm not gonna do too much because I've already watered them earlier today. You may not be able to tell because it's so hot and dry out here. All right, and that's what I do, guys. So, you know, step number one, kind of pull some of that gravel up, fill it in with a little bit of fertilizer of your choice. It doesn't have to be what I'm using. But one thing about me is I just go with whatever I know that works. So this worked for me last year. I'm sure it'll do the same thing this year. All right, so you fill with the fertilizer, you cover the fertilizer with soil. You could just put the fertilizer down and it'll eventually work down in there. Pulling the dirt up will help kind of get it to those roots a little bit quicker. And then the last step, put your mulch down, retain that moisture, really get that fertilizer down in there real good. All right, so now we're gonna talk about why fertilizer is important. And basically what fertilizer is our nutrients. That's what they are. So when we think about when a particular crop is maturing, right? So let's talk about a tomato, for example, or even a watermelon, as we're talking about in this video. When it comes to actually producing fruit, if that soil does not contain the nutrients that's needed to actually spit that fruit out, you may not get any fruit at all, you know. So again, if we're talking watermelon, tomato, whatever the case may be, cucumber, and your plant is actually mature, it's not fruiting at all, maybe there's no nutrients, right? Maybe that soil is lacking nutrients. So we have to keep that in mind. Also, for me, I'm in a very short growing season, so if I make mistakes, I can't make that time up because my growing season is so short. So yes, like I have freshly tilled soil here, and yes, the grass will become fertilizer for whatever I decide to plant into the ground. But I don't have time to kind of play around and have trial and error really. So I'm going to be proactive and put the nutrients that are needed beforehand as opposed to wasting time that I don't have for this growing season. All right. So, you know, and so for many of you that have been growing for years, you've been composting for years, you've been putting fertilizer down for years. You know, your soil may be so rich that you may not even have to put any fertilizer down, just depending on, you know, where you're at, you know, with your garden, where you're at with your soil, you know. So, and that's another thing is learning your soil, knowing what kind of soil you have, knowing what you can do with the soil that you have as well, and then learning what to do to improve your soil. So I have clay soil, so you know, me putting sand in, me putting uh, you know, different fertilizers down to kind of break it down and make it more organic, as well as putting grass, you know, wood shavings in there. So with the grass, you can add that. That's your natural form of nitrogen. So like me, when I cut the grass, if I need more nitrogen, I'll use those grass clippings, throw them in that area, more nitrogen. I'm not spending any money. Uh, if it needs more carbon, you know, I have the wood shavings, spread it out in there. All right, if I want to make compost, I have grass and my wood shavings, mix them together with some native soil, and you have your natural compost. All right, well, that's it, guys. I know I'm rambling a little bit too far, but if you like the video, make sure you like, share, subscribe, and I'll be coming out with more content. All right, until next time, I'm signing out.